Hey everyone, welcome to Financial Revelations. I am David Safransky, your host today, and every day you can hear me every week on WCRF 103.3. It's a Moody radio station, so if you download the Moody Radio App, you can listen to me anywhere. You could hear archives. You could actually watch the archives because it's on YouTube now. When I'll wear a hat, it'll say something like stagflation or inflation isn't transitory. And I even have one hat that says, I suck at investing. I leave it behind my desk, behind me, and I can always tell when somebody's eyes catch that hat because they're here to talk about investing. So that's WCRF 103.3. You can call here, 1-800-344-2534, Twitter at skibucks1. And if you want to know more about the well digs that we do, the mission strips, which we're actually going to do, we're going to be in the jungle on a Thursday. And I'm going to do the radio show via Starlink from the middle of the jungle. So you'll get to hear the sounds of the jungle. And we could even, I've done other Moody stations where they put me on their YouTube feed. And I'm going to see if they can do that so we can get a real sense of how hot, sweaty, and dirty I'll be. You'll love that. So that's nativosusa.org. And by the way, if you like us, hit the like button. If you want to see more of us, if you're new, hit the subscribe button and be part of what we're doing. And what I'd like to do, if you want to, we send out a quarterly newsletter to the people that invest with us. If you want to be part of that, I'm going to give you access to that also. So you'd have to email Corey at EPSF, and you can get on that quarterly newsletter. I try and keep it succinct and to the point. It's usually one page, give you my thoughts of what we're seeing, where we're going. I don't give recommendations as to what to buy or anything like that on it, because I think that's a very personal thing. But we do look at industries. And so if you want to be part of that, email Corey and we'll put you on that list. It comes out about every quarter or whenever I feel like writing something, or when there's a big event, if there's a big event. So yesterday there was a Fed meeting. Chair Powell gave a press conference at 2:00. He left rates what we call unched or unchanged. So if you're watching TV news and they say this stock is unched, just means unchanged, hasn't moved, not up, not down. And I didn't watch the whole press conference. I read more about it. It's just too frustrating to watch sometimes. But what I read, I have some research that we subscribe to. I love this commentary that they get. It is so on the point. But what I read of the press conference is it feels like Chair Powell's a little disconnected. He's questioning why people are feeling discontented right now with inflation. And I'm thinking, are you kidding me? Could this be possible? I've never said that Chair Powell was like out of touch or anything like that. I just think he was wrong. The whole committee was wrong about inflation early on when they said it was transitory. But all you got to do is go to the grocery store. That's all you got to do. Go car shopping. Or if you are buying anything, if you're buying anything right now and you don't see inflation, Walmart puts out these great stats on their. Walmart is a great proxy on the economy because what they do is they keep data that's as tight as any company has ever kept. So at about 2:00 in the afternoon, maybe 2:15, 2:20, they could tell you what they sold across their entire spectrum from 1:00 to 2:00. They have the data that fast. And what they're saying right now is that the average cart cost, so we're not talking about what's in your cart, just what is the average cart, the average sale is about 15% higher right now across the board at Walmart. But the average cart size, the amount of items in your cart is 20% less. So you're buying 20% less items and you're paying 15% more. That is across the spectrum. You go anywhere. I go to, it's a national chain, BJ's Wholesale Club. They have the best deli that I've ever seen, and it's the cheapest deli that I've ever seen. Their prices are double what they were 2 years ago. I was astounded when I went there. I thought, I'm like looking for the person behind me that they were talking to when they told me the price. Wow. But anyway, The Fed left things unchanged. There's going to be no rate cuts this year. That's my prediction. There's no rate cuts this year. There's going to be rate cuts probably next year, first quarter. I think it's just the Fed did admit that the inflation, getting inflation from 9 to 5, that was easy. That was the low-hanging fruit. Going from 5.5, which is where I think we're really at, 5.5 to 2, much harder, way harder, and it's not working. In fact, inflation is accelerating, and the Fed chairman, Chair Powell. My little friend Henry does a great Chair Powell. We'll put it on the radio next week. He said, well, I don't know where these things about stagflation are coming from. Well, I do. I know where they're coming from. The economy is slowing. We have inflation. And he said, well, the unemployment market is low. Well, the last jobs report had 100,000 government jobs. Now, look, do we need another 100,000 people? That's in 1 month. 100,000 people got added to the government. No. That's not the report you want to see. You want to see people getting added to the private sector, full-time jobs. We're losing full-time jobs and adding people to the government. It's the exact thing we don't want to see. We do not want to see that. Well, I promised you this week we were going to talk a little bit less about the Fed, but, Fed meeting yesterday, we had to say something about it. Listener questions. Corey's got a list of listener questions that we've received, and some of them are not just easy questions. So I want to devote an episode to it. And the first one is about quite possibly the most boring subject ever known to mankind outside of art history. And that would be life insurance. And there were some good questions in here about life insurance. So why do we even need life insurance? What is life insurance? And in its simplest form, life insurance is a transfer of risk, of financial risk. So let me give you the traditional thing that people would buy life insurance for, and that is, okay, I'm working, I have young children, and my spouse stays at home and takes care of the kids. I couldn't have done that job. I'm telling you, I don't have the patience for it. So I'm glad my wife did, and she's very good at it. She was expert, still is expert at running a household. It's extraordinary how detail-oriented she is when I stop and think about it. And she keeps the house checkbook. She pays the bills. She's a great cook. I made a deal with my wife. I heard Ron Eastwood talk about this. Might have even been today. I said, if your wife cooks, you clean. You clean. And I made that deal with her. I said, look, you don't clean dishes. I clean dishes. You're cooking, you're doing all that. I know it's a lot of work. It's hard. You got to come up with something to eat all the time. We show up and it's there. She shouldn't have to clean the dishes. And I don't mind doing it. And if it's a blessing to her, I want to do it. So you got to protect those things. Your spouse isn't working. If you die and your income stops, what happens to your wife and kids and the house payment and the car payment if you have one? College savings, your savings account, what happens? So you're going to transfer the financial risk of losing your income. That's what life insurance is. So you're going to pay a small amount of money now, and if you die tomorrow after getting that life insurance policy, it pays off. So let's say you got, $1 million life insurance policy. $1 million. And you made one payment on it, and you die. How much money does your spouse get? $1 million. So early on in my career, I'd sit down with people and people would say, well, I don't really need life insurance because I'm saving, I'm investing. I'm like, that's great. How much money do you have invested? I got $1,500 already invested in mutual funds. So you're telling me if you die tomorrow, your wife will get $1,500? Yeah. Well, okay. What's that going to do for her? She's going to have to remarry quickly and badly. Is that what you really want? And it'll probably be your best friend. You don't know that yet, but if you invest a couple $100 in a life insurance policy, the $1 million pays off if you die next week. That's why life insurance is it a great investment? Yeah, it is, for that very reason. What are you investing in? Your family's peace of mind and security, your kids. So they're not out on the street. So you don't have to rely on the goodwill and nature of your family members, which isn't always there. At first everybody says, well, if you need anything, you tell me and we're going to help you. Well, 3 years down the road, you're going to cut my grass? 10 years down the road, you're going to send my kid to college for me? Probably not. You're going to cook for me? You're going to clean for me? You're going to watch the kids while your wife has to go get a job? What does daycare cost? So that's the traditional reason for life insurance. Now, there's other reasons. You have a debt. The bank may make you buy life insurance. And so that's why we have life insurance, to protect somebody or something against catastrophic financial loss. And it is a good investment because you're investing in your family. You're investing in your peace of mind. So what kind of life insurance should you buy? There's really two types of life insurance. There's term insurance, which lasts for a time. And term insurance is the cheapest form of insurance. You don't generally build any cash value. If you stop paying, it just disappears. It doesn't pay off if you don't keep paying for it. And so it's the cheapest and easiest insurance to get. And a lot of people buy term insurance and they'll get a 10-year, 15-year, 20. You can even get a 30-year level term insurance policy now. And the reason why I like term insurance is because it's the cheapest. But it's not necessarily the best, because even when your kids are gone, your life insurance need probably doesn't end, or it changes to something else. So what I tell people is, look, if you got to get a big number, let's say you got 6 kids and they're young and you got a stay-at-home spouse and you're making good money, well, you might not have enough money to get the real number that you need with permanent life insurance, which you're going to talk about in a second. But term insurance could help you get to that number. And as your kids get older, you don't need quite as much. And as they get out of college, you don't need as much. And as they get on their own, you don't need as much. So you can let term insurance drop off over time. Totally appropriate. I don't want to bankrupt people through buying life insurance. But it's not the best long-term kind. So you got term insurance that lasts for a period of time. It's the cheapest. And then you move to permanent insurance, like whole life or universal life or variable universal life. Whole life is the most expensive kind of permanent insurance. It's conservative. You get a stated interest rate in it. There's no investments in there. And eventually there's enough money built up in the policy account where it'll spit off interest sufficient enough to pay the premium amount if you put enough money in. And we used to call that paid up, but your policy's never actually paid up. You're still paying it, you're just paying it differently. Okay, so it can build up enough money over time to actually pay the bill. It's expensive, it's an investment. At some point in time, you could take money out of there. So I do like it. I like permanent insurance. I own permanent insurance. Most people probably should own some permanent insurance because it never disappears. I read one time a note put out by an insurance company that said only about 3 to 5% of all term policies ever pay off the death benefit because people stop paying them or they get too expensive. So they disappear. But whole life, permanent insurance, on the other hand, a lot of those policies pay off because you get to some point and there's enough money in there where it's paying the bill. So why would you take the money out? You could take some money. We have a client right now who's buying a house in California. They're going to take a loan from their insurance policy to buy it while their house where they live sells, and then they're going to repay it. So there's a lot of uses for a permanent life insurance policy. Universal life it's cheaper than a whole life. It pays a variable interest rate in there. And there's some other investments, but generally guaranteed. It's not my favorite. My favorite is variable universal life because inside of that life insurance policy, there's investments. And you could build a portfolio in there. And we have some pretty awesome rates of return in some of these life insurance policies. And you could get it so the cost of insurance, you still have to pay those things. So you want to make it as inexpensive as possible. And it's a great way to save for the future if you're doing other things first. If somebody came to me and said, hey, what's your best investment idea? I'm probably not going to say variable universal life. But if you're doing those other things and you need insurance, that's a good way to go. So how much life insurance should you have? Well, the more you need to protect, the more kids you have and the more your spouses stay at home or the bigger your debts are, the more you need. If you have 5 or 6 kids at home, you're going to need at least 10, 12 times your income, depending on what your spouse needs. Now, all life insurance pays, if you pay for it personally, it pays tax-free. So if you have 10 times your income, it's really a little bit more than that because, one, it's paying tax-free, and you can invest it too. It's not just going to sit in the bank. So it's kind of a personal decision. If I was going to make a mistake on life insurance, I'd overshoot. Because you think about when I first got into business, I didn't have any clients, so they would send me out to deliver death claims. And I delivered a death claim one time in Sandusky, Ohio. And I get to the house, and the whole family was there because this guy's coming with a big check. Well, unfortunately, the person had bought the policy 30 years prior when costs were very different. So I had for them a $9,000 check, which at the time they bought that was a lot of money. But because of inflation, which we have a lot of right now, if you want to do one thing to stem inflation, vote against this administration in November. That's going to be your number one tool to stop inflation, because these guys are spending, they don't care. They're just trying to get reelected. They just want power at any expense. So vote against this administration. You're going to help inflation. But I show up and it's a $9,000 check. Well, that wasn't going to do anything. Barely pay for the funeral at the time. So overshoot now, because when you need it the most, 20, 25, 30 years from now, it's actually going to be a meaningful number. And I can tell you, I've sat in enough houses where a death claim was being delivered where if the insurance is sufficient and things are different. Somebody's died, of course, so we're going to miss that person and we're going to lose the value of their presence. But man, if it's not enough, I'm telling you, it's really hard. So you want to make this number big enough to be meaningful and do the things that you wanted it to do. And the last part of this, should kids have, these are great questions, by the way. Should kids have life insurance? And, maybe. I don't have a problem with it, but I wouldn't be insuring a kid at $1 million. But kids, one of the things that we're seeing a lot of right now is that kids hit college age, 20, 21, 22, and they become uninsurable. There's a lot of psychosis in younger people right now. Insurance companies pay attention to things like this. Before you get insurance, you got to have a medical exam. If they think you're going to die, they're not going to give you insurance. If they think you're sick, you're not going to get insurance. So a lot of kids are getting these young adult onset things. Buy them a life insurance policy a little earlier, they can carry it on and even expand it later without further medical examination. So it's not a bad idea, but I'd probably make it small, like $15,000, $20,000, and then they can choose if they want to carry it on after college. Not a bad idea. They could save a little money in there. So there's a lot of uses for life insurance. You use it for estate planning. If you're our wealthiest clients, all buy life insurance because the money that grows in there in the portfolios grows tax deferred. And if you do it right, take it out tax free over a lifetime. It's really a great tool if used correctly. If it's just being sold to you because somebody's selling life insurance, I don't like that. It's got to be part of a plan. And a lot of attorneys call us and say, hey, we're doing an estate plan for somebody, they need to buy life insurance. It's part of their estate plan. It's how we're going to fund part of it. So the mission for the life insurance can morph and change over time. So it's got a lot of flexibility to it. It's not just for right now. So be thinking bigger. I need you guys to think bigger and not just, some insurance guy's trying to sell me life insurance. So it's nuanced, treat it as such, and it'll work well for you over time. Most people I meet are probably underinsured because they don't like to buy life insurance. We don't like to talk about these things because you're talking about life insurance, you're talking about dying. Well, I don't know if this is a secret that I'm breaking to you right now, but you're going to die at some point. And don't make it be a double catastrophe by now you're gone and you've bankrupted your family too. You don't want to do those things. As always, you can call here, you can email here. If you want to be on our newsletter list, email Corey. You can reach out to us anytime. If you want us to send you a fact finder so you could do a double check on your finances, we'll do that for you. But you got to reach out. I am David Safransky, a real American, a true red-blooded patriot, and the voice you can trust.